Hey, hey, hey. Happy Tuesday. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by, shockingly enough, thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. So welcome aboard, everyone. Tonight is Tuesday, June 17th, 2025. This is live stream 1201. That's right. Live stream 1200 was last Wednesday. Pretty wild. Pretty wild. Now, of course, if you're tuning in and you're not all that familiar with this show, let me point out, super casual around here. Just hanging out, talking about the latest in tabletop gaming news. And then sometimes I'll take a look at a game. Sometimes we'll talk about the hobby. Sometimes we just hang out and chat. Well, tonight we are actually going to dive on in and take a look at a trio of Frightshow Classic adventures from Yeti Spaghetti and Friends. So stay tuned. We're going to dive on in and take a look at some adventure modules, is kind of how these are set up. Very reminiscent, just by taking a glance at the outside of them. Very reminiscent of the old Pace Setter Chill role-playing game, the original first edition of it. And we'll kind of dig into that and check out more in just a bit. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are not going to find here on YouTube. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. And then, of course, if you want to hang with the gang, you can do so over on Discord. There is an invite to our Discord server down in the show notes. Should also mention, since this is a live stream, there is chat available. Now, you must be a subscriber to the channel for at least 10 minutes before you can take part in chat. Now, some people have said it's an hour. It's supposed to only be 10 minutes. So just subscribe and then you don't have to worry about anything. God knows. Anyway, if you want to say howdy, maybe you got a question, comment, by all means, chime in. I will do my very best to respond. First out the gate tonight is Sean O'Donnell. Keithulu is with us, as is Semper Buffo, Wallona's Cave, Kathy Evans, and Max Apocalypse. Very nice. And I'll take a guess. Would not be surprised if the lovely and talented Miss Sarah D might be lurking in the shadows as our chat moderator, because I do believe our other chat moderator, the Madman, is on vacation this week, so we will not see him popping on into chat. So let's jump on into the news, because Hit Point Press is releasing the Field Guide to Floral Dragons for 5e this week. Here's what I know. Welcome to the mysterious world of floral dragons, unusual and elusive creatures inspired by real-world plants and flowers. The Field Guide to Floral Dragons blends the fascinating world of flowers with dragons and a dash of magic to create a fabulously floral Draconomicon. But beware, while some floral dragons can be gathered as friends, others are more deadly than Nightshade. Featuring Ken Wald's gorgeous illustrations, this 200-plus page book contains everything you need to spark imagination and create floral dragon-filled stories and adventures. It features over 25 stat blocks for floral dragons, pests, pollinators, and fungi, 10 magic items and poisons inspired by floral dragons, as well as rich lore detailing the dragon's origins, habitats, and how to roleplay them. The 223-page hardcover, at least that's the information that I've got, carries an MSRP of $39 or 99 cents, not or 99 cents. Yeah, it's $39 or 99 cents. $39.99. You can grab just the PDF also from Hit Point Press for $19.99. Very cool. Very cool. I gotta say, artwork looks kind of cool. I must also point out the dragons look pretty unique. They're not all just standard dragon kind of designs. In fact, I think it's the cherry blossom dragon that has more almost like a deer kind of feel, especially facially, but pretty cool. So as you can see, there's quite a bit of Asian influence in these dragon designs as well. Moving right along, now available in print and PDF, is Dungeon Crawl Classics Adventure number 108, The Seventh Thrall of Sezrekan. And I've got the lowdown from Goodman Games. You served the old man of the tower, a reclusive sage, for many years, tending to his holdings and content with your role as lowly servants to a powerful master. That all changed one bright day when the servants of the seventh thrall of Sezrekan, that infamous wizard, descended upon the old man's tower and thrust it into ruin. Now you and your fellows must lay down your tools and take up weapons to rescue your former master from the clutches of the seventh thrall. Can you infiltrate the diabolical castle near and overcome the forces that stand against you? The Seventh Thrall of Sezrekan is a zero-level funnel adventure perfect for starting a new Dungeon Crawl Classics role-playing game campaign. The party will find themselves challenged to the utmost by the Seventh Thrall of Sezrekan and his minions. Will they emerge as victorious adventurers or just another casualty of the Seventh Thrall of Sezrekan? Should also mention, this is written by Harley Stroh. Yes. Harley Stroh is one of my favorite Dungeon Crawl Classics adventure authors. And he actually pulls off some really good funnels. In fact, Sailors on the Starless Sea is Harley Stroh, if I remember correctly. This 24-page softcover with PDF is available now. It carries an MSRP of $10.99. If you want, you can grab just the PDF alone over at DriveThruRPG for $7.99. Sweet. Always good to see new DCC adventures arrive on the scene. Let's talk about saving you some money, because Free League Publishing is teamed with Bundle of Holding to present a money-saving offer on Coriolis, the Third Horizon. And I've got the deets on the deal. Adventure. This new Coriolis Mercy of the Icons bundle presents English language ebooks of the epic Mercy of the Icons campaign for Coriolis, the Third Horizon, the tabletop science fiction role-playing game from Free League Publishing. The remote cluster of 36 star systems called the Third Horizon has been ravaged by conflicts among civilizations new and old. The original Horizon settlers, the first come, worship mystic icons who bestow powers and blessings. Aggressive Zenithian newcomers pursue empire through trade and military power. Meanwhile, faceless emissaries have emerged from the gas giant Xene to further their own mysterious agenda, while strange beings from the unspeakable dark between the stars work to corrupt everything. Inspired by Firefly, the Revelation space novels of Alistair Reynolds, and the Alien films, Coriolis, the Third Horizon is a Year Zero engine RPG based on Middle Eastern culture and the Arabian Nights, where ancient myth meets high tech. Crew your spacecraft as explorers, mercenaries, traders, or faction agents. Blaze trails across the giant star cluster. Locate the ruins of the ancient portal builders. Spy for many factions and seek influence high above the jungle planet Kua aboard the majestic Zenithian space station Coriolis. Ultimately, a centuries-old conflict will transform Coriolis and the Horizon, and the three-part, 670-page Mercy of the Icons campaign puts your player characters at the center of the Horizon War, where your actions can sway the fates of billions. When the struggle for the Horizon starts, only the Icons themselves and your own group know how it will end. For just $17.95, you get all 5 beautiful full-color titles in this Coriolis Icons collection, which has a retail value of $95, as DRM-free PDFs, including the prologue adventure, The Last Voyage of the Ghazali, a lead-in to the campaign, all 3 installments of Mercy of the Icons, Emissary Lost, The Last Cyclade, and Wake of the Icons, as well as the complete Coriolis the Third Horizon core rulebook, which you would need to run this campaign. This is a quick deal, so keep in mind, it is only running for a week, and it will run through June 25th. So pretty cool. Pretty cool. I like Coriolis. We are going to see that second edition of Coriolis. I think it's slated for a summer release, maybe even Gen Con. Free League Publishing, once their one PR person moved on, they don't share a lot of news far out. So, I don't know. A lot of times it's sort of like, oh, this is coming out next week. It's like, okay. Like their Kickstarters, they usually give you a little bit of advance notice. But one thing I think is changing with this new edition is the timeline is moving forward, I think 100 years. And it looks like they're getting rid of a lot of the Middle Eastern influence to it. I could be wrong, but I think that is the aspect there. So Mark Hawkswell is with us asking, is the Coriolis system similar to other Free League systems? Yes, it is a year 0 engine. So it is a 6-sided dice pool game where usually with the year 0 engine, a 5 or a 6 is a success. So you're rolling a pool of dice, counting up your successes. Sometimes all you need is 1. Sometimes you might need multiple successes in order to pull off what you are trying to do. Kevin R. Smith is also popping on in, as has DB. So welcome to you both. So let's keep saving some money, because right now you can save on our Talsorian Games Cyberpunk Red titles over at DriveThruRPG. Now, we're not talking about a bundle. We are talking about a sale. And you can save 30% off almost everything for Cyberpunk Red. If you're not familiar with Cyberpunk Red, welcome to the time of the Red, Chumba. The mega corporations spent decades wrecking everything. In the aftermath of their last war, everyone has to fend for themselves. But that's just fine. You can handle it. After all, in a world of vicious booster gangs, rampaging cyborgs, corporate assassins, and nihilistic doomsday cults, there's only one rule. Always take it to the edge. Take the big risks, get the big rewards. Be the action, start the rebellion, light the fire. Never drive slow when you can blaze a trail. You've hooked your Militech pistol to the interface in your brain, upgraded your cybernetic fist with carbo glass blades, and installed cyber eyes that can pierce through the red haze like morning fog. There's a world full of opportunities out there just waiting for the right edge runner. Maybe that's you. Cyberpunk Red is the latest edition of the classic tabletop role-playing game of the dark future and encompasses everything you need to explore the post-war world of the time of the Red, including a dense, deep dive into the history and geography of Night City and the greater cyberpunk world, and plenty of lore about the time of the Red. 10 unique roles for you to play: charismatic rocker boys, lethal solos, quick hacking net runners, inventive techs, life-saving and taking med techs, hard-hitting medias, duty-bound lawmen, scheming execs, clever fixers, and range-riding nomads. There's a huge collection of useful tools, powerful weapons, protective armor, and gleaming cyberware to help you rule the street. 3 scream sheet adventures to show you what cyberpunk is all about, as well as pre-generated opponents perfect for populating the combat zones and corporate compounds, plus encounters that use them to bring the city to life. As I mentioned, just about everything is 30% off. The only thing I noticed was not on sale is issue 4 of Interface Red, which is very recent, just recently came out. So I don't believe that is part of the sale, but just about everything else I was taking a peek at is on sale. Of course, if you are going to go visit DriveThruRPG to take advantage of this deal, stop by thegaminggang.com first and click on one of our banners. That way, I get a small portion of that sale if you decide to make a purchase. Gotta say, in my opinion, Cyberpunk Red is the go-to cyberpunk role-playing game out there. Core book isn't laid out as intuitively as you would like, but it is just overflowing with cool stuff. And the reality is, Cyberpunk's pretty easy to play. It is not a complex game mechanically by any stretch, and there is a lot of content out there. DBS, anybody in the room ever read Hardwired? Yes, I did. Isn't that Bruce Sterling? I read all of Gibson's cyberpunk, even some that was kind of on the cusp of being cyberpunk. It was just kind of future fiction. Bruce Sterling, read some of his stuff. I'm trying to remember, there was an anthology. Mirror Shades? Is that it? Or is that a Gibson book? For some reason, Mirror Shades keeps popping in my head. So, very nice. Very nice. All right, so let's see. Pete Strakulich has joined us, as has J.D. Sewell. 3002, Semper Buffos popped in saying Dungeons and Dyslexia is doing a live review of Coriolis tomorrow. DB says, Walter John Williams, thank you. I was going to say, I know, well, Bruce Sterling's also a cyberpunk. Well, I don't know if he's still around, but he did quite a bit of cyberpunk too. DB says it was based on Damnation Alley by Roger Zelazny. That's pretty wild. It's kind of cool. If I remember correctly, Walter John Williams, I don't know, once again, I don't know if he's still around either, but Walter John Williams was part, if I remember correctly, he was part of George R.R. Martin's group that played Superworld. And if memory serves me correctly, I think George R.R. Martin was the game master. And of course, that led into the Wild Card series. And Walter John Williams, I want to say he's the author that brought the character of Modular Man to Wild Cards, who was one of my favorite Wild Cards characters. Sadly, was not in too many of the novels, but it was in the early ones. If you're not familiar with Wild Cards, it is a shared universe. It's a shared anthology series with superheroes in the real world. So, and it's for an adult audience. So, but yeah, Love that. I turned so many people on to wild cards back in the day when it was first out within the first, I don't know, 3 books or so. Max Apocalypse says they read the first 12, but fell off after that. The series itself kind of fell off. They've rebooted it a couple of times. I know not too long ago, they rebooted it again with, new characters and stuff, but there were certain characters that were just, everybody's favorites that they really liked. And one cool thing about wild cards, I know we're going to get into like a wild cards rant. No, we won't. But one of the cool things about wild cards is if you're exposed to this alien virus, most people would die. The vast majority of people would die. A very small, tiny percent would gain superpowers. And then a larger percentage of the survivors got mutations, and they were called jokers. So there you go, Max Apocalypse, the Sleeper, the Turtle, Chrysalis. The one I really liked, another character I really liked a lot was Brennan, the archer, who had no superpowers. And then Wraith, she was kind of along the lines of a Kitty Pryde sort of character. Max Apocalypse, aces, deuces, jokers, black queens. But yeah, like the first 12 or so books are really good. The first 9 are excellent because what they would do is they would have 3 books would make up a story arc. So pretty cool. Pretty cool. Dark Autumn Scribe and Chris Lundgren are joining us tonight. Final news piece. Hillside Games has released a Shadow Dark adventure in PDF. Here's the latest on The Bride of Sinner's Crypt. The sun sets over the mountains, shedding its last light upon the door of Sinner's Crypt. You've all heard rumors concerning this cursed tomb, some too foul and depraved to utter. All that is certain, however, is that it is the final resting place of the most foul and wicked and darkened ones, both buried and imprisoned, watched over by a keeper anointed by a patron saint long forgotten to time. But rumors and folklore have turned into a crisis. A young maiden was recently abducted from her home, last seen along these trails. A tradition, they say. This time every year is when another daughter goes missing. Each time a different village, a different family. But every time the same report follows. Last seen near Sinner's Crypt. And now you stand before it yourselves, waiting for moonlight, the light of the third night's moon, to be precise, to open the way in. Once the door is open, the task is clear. Find the maiden, confront her captor, if any, and escape within 8 hours before the door seals behind you. The Bride of Sinner's Crypt is a standalone one-shot adventure written for the award-winning and record-breaking Shadow Dark role-playing game. This includes an original 4 to 7 hour dungeon delve for character levels 1 to 3, 2 brand new classes to discover, Sin Eater and Crusader, 2 new magic spell lists, 6 pre-generated characters for quick jump in and play, even for first-time players, as well as hand-drawn enemy and PC tokens in digital and print formats. This 19-page PDF carries an MSRP of $2.99 over at DriveThruRPG. And the fine folks over at Hillside Games reached out, asked if I would share the news of this new adventure with you, friends of the show, the gang. And thus I have. Hey, come on, it's $2.99. Although it's funny, I could have swore when I first looked at this, it was $4.99. And then when I took a peek at it, when I was putting the news piece together, I was like, oh, now it's $2.99? Okay. So maybe it's on sale or something. I don't know. But hey, an adventure for Shadow Dark. Gotta like that. Gots to like that. All right. That is it for the news tonight. As I had mentioned, talking about DriveThruRPG, if you are going to stop by any of those one bookshelf sites, please pop on over to thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banners. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get 5% of that sale. And all those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do add up and help keep thegaminggang.com around. Of course, if you like the video, if you dig the channel, if you find the Gaming Gang to be a valuable resource, hell, if you just like what we do, you can always stop on by PayPal to make a one-time donation. Hell, maybe buy me a 2-liter bottle of soda. Sadly, not as cold as it once was, because it is pretty warm in the Chicagoland area today. And I want to say thank you to Robert Santon for a very recent one-time donation by way of PayPal. You can find a link to make a donation through PayPal in the show notes. And of course, I also want to give a big shout out to our Patreon members, because at the $5 level, we have Gustavo Calvallo, Jason Lawman, Kuval, Kevin R. Smith, Marius Smith, Max Apocalypse, Patrick Brault, Sean O'Donnell, and Talzek. At the $10 level, we've got Dan Webb, The Game Cat, Pete Stracklich, RPG Munch, Testy Trekkie, and Tier 2 DM. And tip of the cap to our $25 level members, Agile Monk and The Madman. So thank you very much to all of you out there who help support the channel. And of course, also want to point out that the big spring used game sale, pre-Gen Con game sale, has less than 2 weeks to go. And there are still over 200 items that are available in the sale at rockin' prices. There are some of you who are in chat who have reached out to make purchases. I have given you your totals and how you can pay. Please take care of those as soon as you possibly can, because I tend to take out bunches of boxes to go to the post office rather than going back and forth every day, multiple times a day. I like to only make one trip. So there is that. Some other stuff to talk about before we jump on into our first look at the Frightshow Classics adventures. I was a guest on Dungeons and Dyslexia and chatted with Adrian. Funny enough, that interview had been recorded about a week prior. In fact, it was a little over a week. It was a week ago last Friday that we recorded that. And I thought it was kind of weird that it was like, 8 days later. But thankfully, we really didn't talk about anything that was time sensitive or anything like that. Boy, I can't wait for this thing to come out. Oh, yeah, okay. It just came out the week before. No, there was nothing like that. So I had a good time chatting with Adrian. So we had that. Also should point out, got the results from my echogram, and now I got to go take another echogram. This time they're going to inject me with dye. But I guess the results of that first echogram were not great. So I get the feeling that I'm going to go and have this other echogram, which is a week from tomorrow. And then they're going to say, well, we're going to have an angiogram. Yeah, last time I had an angiogram, I ended up having a triple bypass. So hopefully, if that happens, it's just a stent. But I mean, I feel fine. I feel okay. Every once in a while, a little out of breath. But I'm not like, so we'll see. We'll see what happens. But you know me, I always tell you what's cooking. So Anyway, yes, Max Apocalypse says too many grams. Best wishes. Thank you. And DB's wishing all the best. Yes, thank you as well. Gotta say, if they're like, oh yeah, well, we want to do another bypass, I will have to ponder that. Because it's like, I don't know if I want to do that again. Robert Santon says that was a great episode. They really appreciated. Thanks for doing the interview. You know, it was kind of funny. Right away, somebody, I think it was on Twitter, or X, sorry, had commented to Adrian. They called me the tabletop Tim Walls, which did not bother me at all. It's like, okay, so you're trying to insult me by comparing me to a governor of a state that actually feeds kids when they're at school, which I don't know how anybody can argue against that, making sure that kids aren't going hungry, but whatever. But I thought to myself, you know what? It's like, what the? It's like, come on. We didn't talk about politics at all. And, you know, right away. And once again, it's mainly people who have probably never watched a video on the Gaming Gang. Never watched. They've heard secondhand by, you know, we've already talked about the shit talkers out there. And that's how they've heard me. It's like, whatever. It's like, okay. So it's like, what? And it's like right away they jump in. It's like, oh. And of course they were like, oh, I'm out. And I guess Adrian lost some subscribers. And I said, well, for one, don't worry about it, because if they unsubscribed because you had me on as a guest, they would unsubscribe from something else down the line. But anyway, so yes, that was a fun interview. But what I was going to say is, you know, there's over 2,200 videos on this channel. And I think I have mentioned politics in maybe 40. Yet there are some folks out there who think that I'm just, you know, like banging the drum. It's like, yeah. Matthew Blackwell's with us today. He says, nah, you ain't the Tim Walls. He's too dull. DB said, would they prefer a tabletop Trump? I guess that person would. I don't know. Anyway, so there's that. I was like, but I thought it's like, this was within minutes of Adrian posting the link that I was on the show. And I was like, the comment was, oh, tabletop Tim Walls, I'm out. That's something else that kind of bugs me. It's like, these people are like, oh, I'm unsubscribing. Like their one subscription matters at all. Kevin R. Smith says, I think Tim Walls is the only 2024 Prez or Veep candidate from last year who has a positive net approval for what it's worth. Chris Lundgren says, they keep politics out of their gaming, period. Life's too short to play a game with anyone as long as they're not a jerk to me. I can't say I would play with anyone, especially if I knew something about that person that strongly was opposed to my beliefs or something. But for the most part, yeah. It's like, come on. It's like, come on. So Max Apocalypse says the only departure they announce online is when they got to bail on a live stream. Keith Lewis says, so long as you don't think people existing is political. Yeah, I get that. I understand that. Anywho, so tonight, well, we rocked through the news pretty damn quick. Got an email today. I guess I might as well tackle this since we got some time, asking me what I thought about the exodus from Wizards of the Coast over to Darrington Press for the two D&D boys. And to be honest, I don't think it matters one whit. I really don't. Okay. So now Chris Perkins and damn it, I knew I was going to forget the other name. So now they're with Darrington Press. Darrington Press has Daggerheart. Okay. Just like, what was it? Wasn't it Mike Merles who went over to Troll Lord Games? Hey, speaking of them, I haven't heard anything from Troll Lord Games either. I told them they didn't need to bother replying to my email, but yeah, I'm gonna assume that they're a company that's now in the rearview mirror. Mike Merles is with Chaosium. Isn't that where he went? Or is he out from there? That's what I'm trying to. Oh, there you go. Jeremy Crawford. Thank you, Keithulu. But I'm like, is it like thumbing their noses at Wizards of the Coast? Maybe. Yeah. It was Chaosium. Okay, DB said yes, because he was only there a few months and then he was gone again. I'm trying to remember. I thought there was somebody who came on board Troll Lord Games. I might be wrong. Probably am. So, Matthew Blackwell says they were really busy pushing their Adventurers backpack, or yeah, it is backpack backer kit. Kevin R. Smith says Daggerheart's already been resoundingly successful, but D&D's lead is so big, you can be huge and a long way behind. I agree. Once again, Daggerheart is new. It's fresh. There are other pretenders to the throne that are on the horizon too, that are probably going to steal some of that mojo from Daggerheart. Funny enough, I guess Adrian over at Dungeons and Dyslexia did not like Daggerheart. In fact, he said he wanted to get his money back. It's like, okay. Because I didn't see his review, so I didn't know. And we were talking about like games that we liked and stuff. And then he brought up Daggerheart, and I thought he was seriously talking about how he liked it. And all of a sudden he's like, oh no, I disliked it intensely, or something along those lines. He said, honestly, I wanted my money back. I'm like, okay. Like, all right. Coco B is with us tonight, says, meh, designer departures don't bother me. I've got the games I like. It's gossip for a few days or so. Yeah, that's why I wasn't going to make this a topic or anything like that, because in my opinion, it's not a big deal. It's really not a big deal. So just like if we go years back, when Monty Cook left Wizards of the Coast, when they were working on, I want to say it was 5e that they were putting together, and Monty went off and started his own company. A lot of people were like, oh, wow. It's like, then he had 5th edition come out. So D&D just grew even bigger. So Kevin R. Smith says there's an SRD for Daggerheart. Anybody wants to check out the basic system before committing their money. Sammy's got a PDF I'm waiting to get the review of. I should reach out to her and ask her to see how she's coming along on it, because I'm kind of curious. My assumption, because her tastes are a little different than mine, I think she's probably going to like it. Just a thought. Chardell says it'd be nice if expanding that team helps him make a splash in the market. Daggerheart played well in the playtest, and some solid adventures would go well. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I'm not like betting against them or anything. It's just, Kevin R. Smith said, I think Cook was laid off in the 3E days. Really? Maybe he was on board as a consultant for 5E and then walked. I seem to recall that because 4th edition, I wouldn't have actually been doing the Gaming Gang at that point. I think the Gaming Gang launched towards the end of the 4E life cycle. In fact, I seem to recall Wizards of the Coast sent me the, what is it? Menzo Brazin or something like, whatever the Drow city is. They sent me the supplement for that. And I think 4E kind of stopped releasing stuff not too long afterwards. Kevin R. Smith says he was a constant for 5E for a while. But yeah, but when I remember when he left and people were kind of like, oh, 5E is doomed. I was like, well, I guess not. So I completely agree with folks in chat. It doesn't make that huge a deal. It really doesn't make that massive a deal. So I think, to be honest, I think that I think the two gents basically just were like, I think it's time to go. That's just the feeling I get, that they're like, you know what? Time is right. Let's get on out of here. Oh. Anywho, so tonight we're going to dive in and we're going to take a look at a trio of Frightshow Classics horror adventures from Yeti Spaghetti and Friends. But first, I think it's time for a brief intermission. But I also want to point out, if you have children in the room, send them out of the room for about the next 90 seconds. Just letting you know, just telling you, because I don't know the kind of language that's used in your home. So let's get into that brief intermission.
It's intermission time, folks. Time out for a delicious snack in our sparkling refreshment building. Every item a fresh, appetizing taste treat.
Yes, you've seen it in magazines, you've read it in the newspapers. In fact, perhaps you've even seen the owner's picture. Ralph Williams, the owner of Bayshore Chrysler Plymouth, 345 El Camino Real in the city of San Bruno. You notice the big bald-headed son of a bitch? The man that came to San Francisco to offer them more for the dollar they spend. The man that came to San Francisco to rape each and every citizen in the whole San Francisco Bay Area. You don't believe it? Listen to me. I don't lie. Take a fucking car like this. A 1966 Ford, a Country Squire 9-passenger station wagon. Don't worry about the equipment. Imagine all the fun you can have in the back. And while you're doing it, imagine all the money that bald-headed prick Ralph Williams is going to be making on the car he's trying to fuck you out of. Yes, the man that'll take every dime out of the San Francisco Bay Area and spend it on prostitutes, booze, and of course crap tables in the city of Las Vegas. I'm sure you've heard about it. So remember this. If you'd like to get fucked and hooked real hard before you buy a car, come down here. Let Ralph Williams do it. Why not? Why not somebody else? Remember, our address is 345 El Camino Real in the city of San Bruno. But if you come from Marin County, East Bay Area, or San Jose, your money spends just as well as anybody else's. And when this bald-headed son of a bitch gets hold of you, you will spend money. Talking about payments, 5 years payments of $100 a month. You can't get even. So shop before you buy. Bayshore Chrysler Plymouth.
Wilkins Instant Coffee soothes the headaches of life.
I don't have any headaches.
Care for cream and sugar?
is safe. From the man from Hong Kong.
Listen, there's a Chinese cop in town. He's beginning to annoy me. Yeah, I think he should meet with a slight accident.
Jimmy Wong Yu is the man from Hong Kong. A furious arsenal of martial arts. With his sights set on smashing organized crime.
In my country, Caroline, we have a sport. We take the giant praying mantis, put him in the wooden cage, and make him fight for his life with his own kind. I thought you would enjoy such a sport.
You and Jack Wilton in a wooden cage. He's a very dangerous man.
George Lazenby is Jack Wilton. Gunrunner, dope peddler, ruthless czar of international evil.
I've never met a Chinese yet that didn't have a yellow streak.
East meets West. In a head-on clash with no holds barred. Golden Harvest, who made Bruce Lee a box office smash, have joined with Australia's action specialists to produce a death-defying spectacle that staggers the senses. The man from Hong Kong knows no rules. Everyone he runs across is never quite the same again.
I understand the gunman is dead. How did that happen? I killed him. Really? Well, in that case, you deserve a cigar. Thank you. I don't smoke.
Tell me, Inspector, do you often take white girls to bed?
Only on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
This is nice.
What did you expect? Acupuncture?
So do yourself a favor and answer a few questions.
省点劲儿吧，可你妈来陪我，我也不会告诉你。
Yeah, and I love you too.
This is Australia, mate, not 55 days at Peking.
Hey, don't give me any shit.
Provoke him at your peril.
I want that lunatic stopped.
Nothing stands in his way. For long. Nobody's safe. From the man from Hong Kong.
Bond Goes Bad. And was that George Carlin in that movie? Wow, that kung fu artist certainly did not like George's set. Yes. And those of you out there who might be thinking, hey, you know what? I'm going to go look for that on Tubi. I do believe you can watch it in full for free on YouTube. So there is that. And that commercial for, the hell was it? Something Reynolds, Wayne Reynolds, whatever the hell, the car dealership. That never went out over the air. That was just a warm-up reel. And the gentleman who did that, I guess, was really well known in the Bay Area for doing, car dealership commercials. So there's another one that's like that too. That same guy, same dealership. Pretty funny stuff. There you have it. All righty then. So tonight we're going to dive on in. We're going to take a first look at a trio of Frightshow Classic adventures from Yeti Spaghetti and Friends. Now, these are available over at DriveThruRPG in PDF. They are $5 each. Now, getting them in print is a little tricky. So, you might recall I shared a news piece about a Kickstarter going on for new modules for Frightshow Classics. You can get your hands on the already published modules that way. I also understand that Yeti Spaghetti and Friends also will sometimes take orders by email. So I would say it's probably easier just to go about checking out that Kickstarter. I'll actually put a link to that down in the show notes. William Hizayas is with us once again. Good to see you. I think I've said hello to everybody so far in chat tonight. Oh no, sorry. 3 FK Ups is with us. I believe this might be a first-time visit in chat. It says back when trailers used to show like 10% of the movie. Nowadays, the trailers just show you the entire concept of the movie, and it's like, why bother watching it? All right, Kevin R. Smith is rocking on out. So good to see you once again. All right, so let's jump on in. We're going to take a look at the first of the Frightshow Classics. It is A Wolf in the Fold. As I mentioned when we first started the show, I thought it was kind of interesting that this really does have a look of the old chill first edition from Pacesetter. In fact, this even looks like the same font. So I thought that was kind of cool. Max Apocalypse says, I keep seeing these adventures on some social media or other. Glad to see that you're going to get a closer look. Sure thing. So Kogo B said the same thing. Looks like the old Pacesetter chill modules. So this is by Chris Halliday. Who is the werewolf? It is the Lord of the Manor, a bluff man of privilege who thinks little of those under his care. The butler, a dignified but gloomy servant. The village reverend, pious though fanatic in his view of God's judgment. The innkeeper, who always keeps a sharp eye trained on those strange to her. A chill, in italics, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, is in the air. Travel to Victorian England and encounter a host of suspicious characters as you try to uncover the truth behind vicious livestock slayings and brutal murders in a small 19th century village. Monsters meet murder mystery in this thrilling historical horror scenario. I gotta say, there is one. It is the oh gosh, now I can't remember the town. It's in Tennessee. It's where this farmhouse, the family was terrorized by little aliens or gremlins or something. Hopkinsville. It's based on the Hopkinsville horror. Did not get a copy of that, but I was like, rats. Because I assume it's based on that strange supernatural event. All right, so let's jump on in. So here we got the village. Oh, I should also point out, these are adventures. So if you're a player and you're hoping your game master is going to pick these up and maybe run some of these, watch out. Keithulu says it was Kentucky. Thank you, Keithulu. I knew it was right in that vicinity. All right. So we've got our credits here. Take a peek at the credits. To my knowledge, you don't need to have any sort of like rule system that you can use these with any percentile based system. Call Cthulhu, chill, basic role playing. But I think it's got some real light rules to actually run this on its own. Welcome to A Wolf in the Fold, a Frightshow Classics adventure module. This scenario is an investigation inspired by the style of the Hammer horror movies of the 50s, 60s, and 70s. We're going to have a lot of bosoms in this. And by classic films like The Wolfman and An American Werewolf in London. Every culture on Earth has folklore about men and women who can transform into ravening beasts, hungering for the flesh and blood of mortal men. Can anyone truly say what werebeasts are nothing but a story to frighten children? Or are they the real reason we're afraid of the dark? So, this adventure is set in the Welsh borders of the United Kingdom. It appears to be a series of vicious animal attacks. So I got to point out, Yeti Spaghetti and Friends were kind enough to provide me with these 3 adventure modules. Keep in mind, though, neither I nor anyone else affiliated from the gaming gang or with the gaming gang has received any other sort of compensation. We're not going to look at each and every page of this either, but I do want to give you a good idea. So we know it's a werewolf because here's the stat block. We just don't necessarily know who's who. Maybe they're all werewolves. Maybe it's a pack. The adventure presents encounter events along with locations for the party to investigate, but generally proceeds in a linear fashion. Still, you should read this entire module before beginning, mostly to help with knowledge of the numerous characters that PCs will encounter and what clues or red herrings you may wish to provide them. The adventure should be run much like a murder mystery, so be prepared to play the role of different suspects. Remember that flexibility is key. If there's a portion of the module that you wish to skip or edit, feel free to do so. Frightshow Classics adventures are designed to be modified or adapted as a game master sees fit. So here we've got the village. A little bit of read aloud. Artwork looks all right. Kind of a throwback to the early years. So it looks like this section here is an investigation into those animal slayings. Then it appears that things progress to humans. It says funerals in the rain. And I would take a guess, they're probably not having funerals for animals. Next apocalypse is bear wolves. Yeah, that would probably be more like Hammer. Especially towards, the late period, the 70s. Hunters become hunted. Well, looks like, is there a manor? Very possibly the manor of the Lord who might happen to be one of the vampires. I get the feeling it's more than one vampire. Okay, then we get some pre-gens that you can utilize. So we get 8 pre-gens. So I'm going to take a guess. We've got status, strength, dexterity, perception, willpower. Oh, no, maybe this is perception. Maybe that's personality. Agility and I don't know. Have no idea. So we've got some of our skills, outdoor survival, medium level, dagger knife, journalism, investigation, stealth, medical, pistol, forensics. But it's weird. It says it's got medium level, lowest level. All right, got a few more. Dr. Felix Gilbert. Ooh, that's good morphine. So he's a medical medium, forensics medium, mechanic lowest. So that's what kind of throws me off because it says forensics medium level 90. It's like, okay. It's like this gent used to be a boxer. All right, so here's another adventure. Graveyard Dog coming soon. Okay, so that's a peek at A Wolf in the Fold. Now, of course, I am going to be reviewing these. I am probably going to review these individually, probably be pretty quick. Probably like 10-minute videos thereabout. So there you go. So 3 F-ups. Was I the only one who thought Frightshow Classics would be spooky adventure modules for Dungeon Crawl Classics? I guess not. I guess other people were like, no, I thought these were Dungeon Crawl Classics. Nope. Percentile based. Who just mentioned the rules for this game? Okay, so Chris is asking, are the rules for this game also on DriveThru? No. Once again, Chris never pays attention. Anybody ever notice this? Chris is like out like mowing the lawn while I'm doing the show. And he comes back in. He's like, hey, got a question. So these are designed for percentile-based role-playing games like Call of Cthulhu, like Chill, basic role-playing, but they're also designed that you can kind of use the really light rules that are in the module itself. So I think there were a couple of pages that looked like they were devoted to. Oh, there you go. So Chris was taking the trash out. See? He takes care of his honey-do list while he's watching the show. Okay, next up, we got High Seas Terror. This is by Richard Rivali and Jeremy Gipton. Satnam Ravichandra. No idea what that is. Location? A place? It's not ringing a bell for me. Fighting these creatures have been my life's journey. Oh, I guess it's a diary entry. Ever since I was a young man, little did I know that I would one day be as old and weak as the favorite prey of these foul beasts. You must be brave in this dangerous endeavor. Staying pure of heart and never being afraid is essential, even when you feel that one is near. They know when you are weak, and that is when they are likely to strike. The creatures will try everything to trick you, to earn your trust, but you must not hesitate. Shoot with all confidence in your mission. The great Brahma will be with you and guide you, but you must not weaken. Shoot! All right. That is kind of an oddball sort of cover there. So we've got the pool deck. These maps are pretty decent. And these are fairly recent. I think somebody was asking, are these just like reprints of older adventures? No. So like right here, it's showing that is 2024, which means this is either 2024 25. It looks like it's some sort of a Bigfoot. Womp womp, spoiler, womp womp womp. High Seas Terror is an adventure module for, you guessed it, Frightshow Classics. Because this adventure takes place entirely on a modern-day cruise ship, it need not be set in any particular geographic location, although the inspired city of, it says inspired city of departure is Miami, Florida. The ship, the Star Princess, is an older luxury liner that has seen its fair share of uneventful duty over the years. But when its mostly retiree passengers start showing up dead hours after sail away, the vessel becomes a true ship of horrors. Victims are found with the flesh stripped from their bodies, while captain and crew are largely dumbfounded as to the cause. Guests are increasingly terrified of a culprit who can seemingly appear and disappear at will. Coco B says they still have their Chill box sets. Might be fun to pick these up and break out the old game. I remember I picked up Chill when it first came out. I used to always pick up horror role-playing games because, as I've talked about umpteen times, that I believe a good GM cribs from other things, steals. I just like to say crib. It sounds a little better than stealing. And I remember I picked up Chill and I picked up a few adventures. It just never did it for me. On one hand, I thought it was too similar to Call of Cthulhu because it used a percentile system. But I found it to be not really mature. I don't know. I guarantee you if I looked at it again. Now, I understand the most recent edition of Chill is quite a bit different than first edition Chill. But yeah, I'd take a look at the first edition again just to see if it came across as it originally did when I picked it up. I mean, it was fine. If you didn't already have Call of Cthulhu, it was probably a lot better, to be honest. Of course, none of that has anything to do with these adventures. Okay, so let's see. PCs are on a 7-night cruise leaving port on a Sunday afternoon. During the small hours of Monday morning, Gerald Lane, a retired school principal from Arkansas, traveling alone, is murdered in his cabin. His body is discovered later that morning by a cabin steward, Arjun. The players will know Arjun, who is responsible for a block of rooms, including theirs, and will have an opportunity to get involved in the action early, should they choose to do so. Whether they get involved right away or not, player characters will pick up on rumors flying around the ship of a wild animal loose somewhere, and a seemingly separate story of security arresting an elderly man. I thought they're all elderly on this ship, except for the crew. So we've got our supporting cast. Ah, there you go. Now we know what the baddie is. Now we know what the monster is. It's a Rakshasa. What I wonder if Kolchak, the Night Stalker, is kind of a little bit of an inspiration for some of these adventures. I rewatched those not that long ago, about 6 months ago. You know, I mentioned this before. It's too bad that the reboot they did was just awful. You know, that is actually something that I think could be successful. If you did 8 episodes on some streamer out there and made sure that there was like an overarching storyline that kind of went with that. DB says their character in Delta Green is Carl Kolchak. Nice. Very nice. So Keith Lewis said it had a cruise ship and a Rakshasa episode. Yes. Because I remember the cruise ship one, and it's isn't he a werewolf or something like that? Max Apocalypse says they're in the middle of a new Kolchak novel right now. You know, my understanding is that the first 2 Kolchak adventures, which were TV movies, are in audiobook form now. I think they're on like Audible. And one of them, I think, is read by William Catt, who, if memory serves, wasn't he the actor in Greatest American Hero? Wasn't he the main character? I could be wrong. I'd never watched that show. There you go. The Night Chicago Died, coming soon. This was, I believe, one of the modules that's up for the Kickstarter. DB says, it can't have enough Carl Kolchak. Yes. The TV movies are quite different than the series. Not as much humor in them. I also have to laugh because one of the episodes of Kolchak the Night Stalker, the Cubs are playing the Boston Red Sox in the World Series. It's game 1 of the World Series. And Kolchak is trying to get to the game, but he keeps having to go and check other stuff out. And he's like, oh, come on, I'll get there by the 7th inning. So Max Apocalypse says he stumbled backwards into Kolchak. First discovered him in Moonstone Comics. Yes, I've heard of those. All right. So here's our infopedia on the Rakshasa. Here are the pre-gens. Only she looks elderly. Well, I don't know. These two down here don't look like they're elderly folks. That guy certainly doesn't. These look cool. I gotta say, these look kind of cool. Keith Lou was talking about the episode with the invisible alien where they end up going to the, it's supposed to be the Adler Planetarium, and it looks just awful. It's like, what? Serious? Chris Lindgren says, looks groovy. And of course, I didn't take a peek at the back of some of these. We get a little bit of information. Yeah, they're in their 60s here. They're in their 70s, 60s and 60s. Well, I don't look that old. All right. So that is High Seas Terror. And then lastly, speaking of hammer and cleavage, we have Queen of the Dead. And this is also by Richard Rivali. I believe Richard Rivali is Yeti Spaghetti. I think. So Max Apocalypse is rocking on out. Good to see you once again, Max. Who can survive being trapped inside a remote southwestern bar in 1996 with, a little dusk to dawn action, huh? A host of alluring and deadly vampire waitresses, powerful undead creatures devoted to ensuring that those ensnared become tonight's dinner. An ancient Mesoamerican terror that causes even supernatural bloodsuckers to tremble. And a female leader with iron-fisted control of the establishment who must feast on human flesh every night to satisfy her ravenous appetite. Grab your stakes, holy water, and weapons of all kind. You'll need all of your skills as a hunter of the undead to survive this encounter with an army of monstrous killers with nowhere to run. It's kill or be killed in an epic night of survival against the forces of evil. So I will take a guess that this is not as much of a murder mystery as the other two. This looks like this is just going to be straight out like melee madness. Oh, now hold on here. Queen of the Dead is a sequel adventure to Death on Wheels. Well, I did not receive Death on Wheels. And is best played as part of a continuing campaign set in the 1990s. It is 1996, 6 years after the events of the original scenario. A booming, more self-indulgent time characterized by a new kind of late-century greed and raunchy popular culture is the perfect feeding ground for the vampire Donna Fredericks. Having survived events of 1990, now let's not spoil that. We'll just skip past that. The female vampires in this module have the same abilities and weaknesses as basic vampires. Described in the original adventure. Well, that doesn't help us. Jeff Woody Art is with us. Said, no way, I got lucky and got a Gaming Gang live stream. Welcome. So Cthulhu said on the cover, that's Elmira, Maiden of Darkness, a totally non-copyright, non-specific horror hostess. Warren Rollins is also with us in chat. Welcome, Warren. Good to see you again. So it looks like we've got the Flesh Golem. We have a Lich. So note on returning characters. Okay, this is, I'll be honest, this is kind of a bummer because this is a sequel adventure and it's making a lot of references back to the, I think it said it was Hell on Wheels or something like that adventure. It's like, okay. The Boom Boom Room. In this section, the players are introduced to the remote nightclub where all the action of the adventure will take place. They will meet the Lich, Jackson, who is their key to understanding how to defeat Donna Fredericks. The party will also experience the nightly routine of the Boom Boom Room as part of the crowd. While they should refrain from combat at this stage, be prepared to overwhelm overzealous PCs with a response from Donna's forces and even club patrons, which may cause them to flee the bar or result in their early demise. They will eventually be prompted into combat during the evening, described in Part 3. Warren Rollins, is this the plot line to Porky's? So they've got the stage, the club, and then part 3 is where the, oh, here we go. It's Barroom Blitz. Better cue that song up. Keith Lewis said the Boom Boom Room was a club in the first episode of the Kolchak series. Wasn't that where he was? I'm trying to remember who he was going after in that one. Wasn't it like Jack the Ripper? And then we got a conclusion. Here's our pre-gens. Once again. So it looks like this guy's an anthropologist, a mechanic, stuntman, photographer, maybe a nature photographer there. I know I could look at the back. It'll tell us, but still, I'm just trying to guess. Maybe a thief, male model, paranormal investigator, and another anthropologist. All right, just for the heck of it. It's not, it doesn't say. Nope, it doesn't give you what their actual, maybe some of them. Oh, well, here one is a private investigator. There's a mechanic. These two didn't really say what they are. Oh, I guess he's a vampire killer. Is what he is. Sweet. These run, what about 20 pages? What are we looking at here? So this is 24 because there was a blank page in there. I think that's the longest. High Seas Terror. 20, including our pre-gens. And then A Wolf in the Fold. This one I think is about 20. It is 24 pages. There we go. All right. Keith Wu says, yes, he was going after Jack the Ripper. Jack's weakness was electricity. It's funny. We'll talk about Kolchak for just a second. Once again, big thank you to Yeti Spaghetti and Friends for sending along these 3 adventure modules for Frightshow Classics. Like I said, I will have reviews of these in the, maybe not this one because it's a sequel. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But I will have individual reviews of these in the not too distant future. Once again, you can pick these up in PDF for $5 each over at DriveThruRPG. And then there is currently a Kickstarter going on for new adventures, but you can also order some of the current adventures that are available in print. Agile Monk is popping on in here. Good to see you once again. All right. Anyway, it's my understanding that with Kolchak the Night Stalker, I guess, isn't it Darren McGavin? Isn't that the actor? I guess he was getting more and more frustrated with the show because as the weeks went on, as production went on, the scripts got weaker and the budgets got smaller. But, it's kind of funny. As far as Darren McGavin goes, he's remembered for the most part for two things. And he was like a TV actor in a lot of stuff. In fact, there was like a detective series, which I think was before Kolchak. So this would have probably been late 60s, maybe right around 1970 or so. Because wasn't Kolchak like 75? Somewhere around there. DB says he was Philip Marlowe on TV. Yes, Keith Lewis said he grew weary of the Monster of the Week formats. Chris Lundgren's asking, when did he die? I don't know, 2000, somewhere around. He's been gone a while. I know he had been out of showbiz for a long time prior to him passing away. But he was in some other cop show that was on, there you go, Agile Monk, 74, 75, even though, what are there, 20 episodes, I think? So it was one season. It wasn't even a full season. Because back then, a full season of network TV was about 24 episodes. Weirdly enough, like in the 50s, there were some TV shows that would have in a single season 50 episodes. So there were like 2 weeks out of the year that there was not a new episode. And I want to say, oh God, now I can't remember the show. The one with Ricky Nelson, Ozzie and Harriet. I think Ozzie and Harriet was one of those series that would have like 50 episodes or 40 some episodes. Is like nowadays it's like, wow, if a show gets 10 episodes, it's like, whoa, that's a big deal. Anyway, Agile Monk's child had to undergo surgery. Wow. Well, hopefully they're doing well. He said they're still recovering. Read Letter Gamers with us, popping on in. Good to see you. So anyway, it's kind of funny because Darren McGavin is remembered by most people. Two things. One, Kolchak the Night Stalker. Two, the old man in A Christmas Story. Pretty wild. Guy had a decades-long career in Hollywood. But those are the two things that he's most remembered for. And then I've seen stuff over the years where like he'll pop up in something and I'll be like, oh, jeez. Oh my God, it's Darren McGavin. Holy shit. Wasn't expecting that. And it's kind of funny because I saw an episode of the like detective series that was like the late 60s, early 70s. And his character was very similar in approach to Carl Kolchak. I was like, oh. DB says he was also the Arnold Rothstein character in The Natural. Yes, that is correct. Although not something he's remembered for. Although DB remembered. Good movie. I always liked The Natural. I don't think it's aged all that well, but that used to be one of my favorite movies. Last time I saw it, I was kind of like, yeah, this really hasn't aged all that well. Anyway, Jeff Woody Art with a $1.99 super chat. Have a 2-liter bottle of soda on Jeff. Well, thank you very much. Much appreciated. DB says it's not great, but it looks great. I think the thing that is kind of, I don't want to say soured me on The Natural, because The Natural is a good movie. But I read the book, and I didn't read the book right after seeing the movie. This was a few years later I read it because people said, hey, you should read the book. And it's just so much different than the film, because in the book, Roy Hobbs is a real piece of work. Roy Hobbs is a little closer to like Babe Ruth, though Babe Ruth wasn't necessarily a bad guy. He was just kind of a shitty guy. And Roy Hobbs takes the money in the book. He takes the money and then decides that he's not going to throw the game, and then strikes out. The Knights lose, and then it comes out that he took the money to throw the game, and he's thrown out of baseball, and his single season records are all eliminated and stuff like that. DB says book is a masterpiece. Yeah, I like the book quite a bit. And I think that's where, once I read that, I was kind of like, okay, I don't like I mean, I like The Natural. If it was on and I had nothing to do, I'd be like, okay, I'll turn this on. Be like, yeah, okay, I'll watch this. But anyway, so there you go. So we've had a little discussion about The Natural. We talked a little bit about Carl Kolchak, Darren McGavin. Nice. Honestly, these would probably work out like really well for like Christmas. Yeah. Christmas role playing, Halloween role playing. I'm thinking a Christmas story. I'd like to do like a one shot, these look like, you could rock this out in a single session, as long as your session was maybe like 4 hours. Maybe. DB says it's a handsome movie. Yeah, it is. It is a nice looking film. Real quick, and then we'll wrap up because we got a couple minutes before we hit the 90-minute mark. Yeah, DB says Black Christmas role playing. Relighter says Jingle kills. I lost my turn. Oh, okay, I got it back. It's pretty weird how ugly movies are now, just because it's all digital. Nothing's shot on film anymore. Yeah, it's just everything always looks washed out. And then if they try in post-production to kind of color adjust, color correct, sometimes it looks kind of weird. It just looks kind of fake. But just like I remember the first time I watched Titanic in 1080p, I was like, this is awful. It looked like you were watching a play. I was like, God, because that's a nice looking movie too. That's a good looking film. And it was like, holy shit, this looks awful in HD. I was like, what the hell? Relighter Gamer says, yeah, I love watching my old VHSs sometimes. Yeah, I could see that. I could understand that. But even when you see a film, like I remember one time I was watching, what was it, Turner Classic Movies or something, and they had done the high def treatment on the Bond movies. And I was watching one of the Sean Connery Bond movies. And it had sharpness, but it still had that film look. It didn't look digital. I was just like, wow, that is damn sharp. I was like, whoa. So it's not necessarily the high definition. It's just, I think it's just, the cameras that are used. But yeah, I know. Get off my lawn. Sharon Dahl says playing old video games is like that, often because they were made with CRT in mind. Film, tape, and vinyl all have a bit of chaos that gives warmth, which digital eliminates. Hey, speaking of video games, I've been messing around with Dave the Diver. I had a couple of people say, "Oh, Jeff, you should check it out. You'll probably like it." I do. It's an unusual game. That is certainly it. And it's kind of a cozy game, which I'm not necessarily a cozy game guy, although I played a little bit of Stardew Valley. That was fine. I absolutely never came close to completing it. Just like I'm sure I'll never come close to completing Dave the Diver, but still enjoying that. Relighter Gamer says, miss their cat laying on top of their CRT monitor. All right, so that is it for tonight's show. Tomorrow night, we're going to dive on in. We're going to take a first look at the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay Dwarf Player's Guide from my friends over at Cubicle 7 Games. So hopefully you will join me for that. As far as Thursday's show, I have no clue. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm sure I can dig something up. Anyway, maybe even look at a board game. Who knows? I know Chris Lundgren will like that. Most people don't. I don't get many views on the shows that I do. A board game unboxing, but still, we'll see what happens. Jeff Woodyard also points out, which I had mentioned earlier in the show, that they hope everyone caught the interview that I had with Adrian over at Dungeons and Dyslexia. I gotta be honest, it really wasn't an interview. Did you notice? It was just kind of a discussion, because I asked Adrian some questions too. So, and I'm just not used to being the subject of an interview by any stretch of the imagination. I just feel weird. I'm usually the one asking the question. That's why when I rarely do this, but when I appear on somebody's stream or whatever, and they interview me, I'm always asking them questions too. It's just what I do. All right, everybody. So if you're watching live, thank you very much. If you watched live and took part in chat, bigger thank you, because not only are you keeping me company, you're keeping each other company as I'm flipping on through horror adventures or sharing the news with you. So that is much appreciated. But of course, I know a lot of folks out there, they don't have an opportunity to watch live. A lot of them end up watching on Memorex. So I appreciate all of you who take time out to watch any of the over 2,200 videos here on the channel. Thank you very, very much. Of course, as I mentioned, tomorrow, we're going to take a look at the Dwarf Player's Guide. Is it dwarf or dwarfs? It is dwarf. I think I said dwarf. Player's Guide for WIFRIP. Everybody enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it is in your neck of the woods. If you like the video, be sure to give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that bell, because it'll not only let you know when the Dispatch streams live Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings at 7 p.m. Central, right here on YouTube. Also let you know when I share other videos, such as my recent review of the Traveler Core Rulebook Update 2022 from Mongoose Publishing. If you have not checked out the review and you're interested in Traveler, by all means, give it a peek. You got a very, very high score. I know, spoiler. What can I tell you? Anyway, once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. Thank you very much for watching. And as always, I certainly hope every single one of you gets to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.